Ready?
Yep.
I guess. Hey, everybody. It's Jefferson with Bo Birdie. Today we have with us Nikki, Grant,
Yes.
and Jose.
Say it.
Aravalos. Yeah, that thing.
It's a mouthful.
They're the owners of the Woodstock Cafe. And I know them, but you don't. So I'm going to have them start by telling just a little bit about what makes them tick, who they are.
Go ahead. Okay. Jose doesn't like the camera. I'm Nikki. I actually grew up here, which I don't know if a lot of people know or not, but I left for 22 years. And this stretch of going on 7 years is the longest. I've been here since I was 18 years old, which is kind of weird.
Right.
A little weird. I've been all over the place. My career has taken me to Chicago, LA, San Francisco, DC, and Denver. And Chicago is where I met this guy.
Nice.
9.5 years ago.
Okay. Jose, what makes you tick?
Has it been that long?
It has been.
Shoot. Wow, what makes me tick? Yeah, that's a pretty deep
Loaded question.
Yeah, I don't know. Food, really.
Right.
I think that's probably the most important thing in both of our lives. I'm a chef, obviously. I've been a chef for 20 years now, and I think it's my love of food that has come probably from my family and growing up in a family that's always had big gatherings around food and stuff like that. So I think food, and then that kind of brought us out here and doing what we do here.
So I'll tell the viewers, there's several really good articles already written about these guys. So I highly recommend you check it out because it'll go a lot more into food and the restaurant, which the Woodstock Cafe is one of my favorites. It's a wonderful place to eat. We're going to get back to that in a minute. But the other day, I was talking to Nikki, and she told me that y'all went golfing together.
We did.
What was that like?
Well, she's very competitive, so it was a little frustrating for her, but it was a great time for me because, I like to poke fun as much as I can, and seeing her not be good at something is...
Hang on. All right, I get it.
But it's also been my world, right? Like, it's something that I do mostly by myself.
Right.
And, it's kind of like a therapy session. You get out and you're by yourself and you do something that, you love, and just thought, it'd be fun to include her into that too.
Well, the other day, so maybe a month ago or so, Jose and I went out golfing together, and I found out a few things really quick. One is he hits his driver about 300 yards straight down the middle, and I hit mine about 200 yards off into the woods. So that was hard for us to keep up and have conversation. But you're an incredible golfer, and it sounds like you've golfed for a long time in your life.
Yes.
Can you remember the first time or kind of how you got into golf?
Well, it was actually my stepdad, him and his brother, they're from Washington, and his brother would come visit every summer.
Washington State, yes.
And his brother would come visit every summer, and they would wake up early in the morning and go golfing, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of. So I mentioned that to him, and he gave me one of the best gifts ever, and that was before I ever picked up a club, he got me some golf lessons. And that was when I was around 12 or 13 years old.
So you started about 12.
Yeah.
That's probably the right age to start, isn't it? Where you can catch on and you can kind of not be so nervous about learning from a pro or someone teaching you.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you can understand certain things maybe at that age too. So it's not, and I'd been playing some other sports, baseball, which I really wasn't a fan of.
Somebody told me he played high school football.
Yes.
Yeah, and then football started, in high school. So that's when the competitiveness started. So I think after those first round of 6 lessons, I kind of just went off on my own. And then after the first 2 years of football, I had talked to my golf coach and told him that I wanted to join the golf team and try out. And so he actually, the summer going into my junior year, he was giving me lessons once a week for free to get me onto the golf team. So that was another huge advantage.
So when you were in high school, what would be a normal score when you're playing golf on your local course? What's the low score for you in high school?
I mean, when I was playing every day, they got pretty good. I think it wasn't until after high school that I shot my lowest score, and I shot 1 under par. 69
Wow,
once.
under par. Wow.
Yeah, that was only one time, and that was, we were just talking about what happens in your mind when, you're performing at a high level, and most people don't remember, and that was one of those things. It's
Right.
like, you kind of go unconscious, and you don't remember what you're doing, and you're just doing it.
Well, I don't believe in the handicap system for a lot of reasons, but mainly because I think all golfers cheat and make it either too high or too low. But if I was to guess your handicap the day we played, I would say between a 3 and a 5.
Oh, I think that's very generous, but if it's in the single digits, that's very generous, but I think somewhere around 10 probably on average.
Well, you're a very calm golfer. You don't seem to ever get upset. And also, he's a thinker. So, like, he'll walk into the bunker and he'll look at the ball and he goes, well, I think I'll use this club and drop it here and then release it down here and then it's going to stop right here. And then he walks over and he does it. And I'm like, whoa, I've never met a golfer that actually can do what he said he was going to do.
Well, that's the goal anyway. And I think, part of the career I have, it's always setting a goal.
That's a good transition. I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
Your personality with golf, is that the same personality when you're in the kitchen? And by the way, the kitchen is right there. We're in the restaurant. You're obviously going to hear and see people, and that's good because this is a very community-focused place that people just come here. There's someone on the computer over there. There's a couple. There's friends. Like, it's just a fun restaurant. But sorry to interrupt. Go ahead and talk about how golf and food might have similar or different ways that you address it. Okay, so Jose was just getting ready to share with us kind of the difference and similarities in how he approaches golf and food.
Yeah, I think in the kitchen, it's such a stressful environment and high pressure. You're running a multi-million-dollar restaurant, and you're in charge of making sure everything runs smoothly. And then during service, you have 1,000 reservations on a Friday night.
So he's not making things up, by the way. He's actually talking from experience.
Yeah.
You ran one of the top restaurants in Chicago. Right?
One of the top Italian restaurants in Chicago for like 5 years.
Were you there too?
That's where we met.
Yeah. So that's where they met. All right. Yeah. So this is the real deal. He knows what he's talking about.
So things are happening so fast that you don't have a lot of time to think. So it's just you have to make a decision and you have to react. So it's not having any time to think about what's going on makes that decision making easier. And when you're under those pressure situations, then kind of everything outside of that is just makes it slow down.
Do you have to find that place, or is it a natural part of your personality, or is it something you learned how to do that?
I think golf is one of the things that taught me that, and then just being an athlete and playing sports in high school was a big part of it too, because in football there's so many things happening at once, and every situation has a solution, and they have to happen so fast. Your coaches are yelling at you, players are yelling at you. You have all this information that you have to sift through and make it happen like in seconds, right? So, and golf is the pressure, is learning how to deal with the pressure. I played in a couple of junior tournaments when I was young, and one of the most pressure-packed situations I've ever been in was standing on a first tee with a bunch of parents around you, and you're 13 years old, right? And you just don't want to top the ball, right? You're just like, please don't top the ball. I don't care where it goes, right, left, what doesn't matter. Just make good contact.
Yeah, that's even on weekends when you're playing with your buddies. There's still that intense pressure in sports to want to perform and impress or just not mess up. Nikki, I know you're into fitness. What are your things? What are your go-to things?
I practice yoga.
Right.
I have a very type A, intense personality.
You had
noticed, I'm sure. So I needed to find something that could calm my personality, which is initially why I thought golf was not going to be for me.
Interesting.
Because I don't, as Jose said, I don't like to be bad at things.
Right.
Not good at being bad at things.
And are you an athlete? Like, do you normally play sports well with whatever you do? Badminton, billiards, whatever you do.
So I've been an athlete my whole life.
Right.
Softball, volleyball. I mean, everything I've picked up very quickly.
Okay.
So it came naturally.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen in golf, by the way.
Not happen. I mean, I hit like one great shot, which, by the way, was not great.
Exactly.
And it was, I think, like the last hole or something. And and I also have like an attention span that's like this. So
Right.
the idea of spending 4 hours doing the same thing.
When I was reading a story about Nikki and Jose both, but he was talking about that you like to run, you like to do yoga, you like to walk the dogs. So I was thinking, is golf going to work or not? And it sounds like you're when y'all play together, even though you have very different personalities, it works. And somehow both of you actually enjoyed being out there playing.
It was so fun. It was one of the hardest things I have ever done as a sport.
Wow.
Just because, I don't understand it
Right.
either. It was my first time, but Jose is incredibly patient with me. The
When
caveat
I
is with me.
I never saw him rattled. He just seemed so calm.
He's
Yeah.
very even in the way he approaches just about everything. I don't know if it's because he's also an intellect, so everything
Right.
is seen from a very different angle. But he was really good about telling me what club to use, like where I was looking, like get down here and look at the green and see, like, do you see
It's
how this?
It's a thinker's game.
Yeah.
It really can be.
And I'm so used to rushing everything, right? Which is why I do yoga, because it forces me to find a different pace, to slow down, to breathe, to take it easy. So while I initially thought yoga wasn't going to be for me because of those reasons, maybe golf will be for me for the same reason.
So see what's happening here. We have two people with very similar and very different personalities when it comes to certain things. One that plays a lot of golf and has played his whole life. One that is just learning and starting to play. This will be a fun journey to see where it goes.
It's fun. I wish I would have picked it up not at the end of summer,
right?
Because I think that's when we went out.
She's not a fan of the cold, so
I don't like the cold. I like it to be super hot. I like to be out in the sunshine. Yeah, so that was unfortunate, but I think next spring, summer, I'll definitely be ready to go out with him.
Okay, so Bo Birdie, if you've read the magazine, you've seen we talk about food, we talk about golf, we also talk about traveling or touring the valley from Harper's Ferry down to Roanoke. But you guys actually have traveled the world. What are some of the places y'all visited?
Well, we just did Japan for the first time, end of last year, beginning of this year, so December into January, and that was an incredibly life-changing trip for both of us. We did
in
Italy,
a spiritual way, in a food way, in a
kind of just every kind of way.
So it was a big impact.
Yeah, and I mean culturally, just to see how they approach everything.
Right.
It was.
Would you live there?
Absolutely. It was really inspiring to see people that just have so much respect for every part of their lives.
Where else?
The kindness of the culture. I mean, it was just. I've never personally been somewhere where I was touched by every single aspect of the culture, like the people, the food,
so it's
the
balanced.
kindness. I mean,
everything
it's
about
just. It's beautiful. Every aspect of it is beautiful.
Where else have you traveled to?
We did.
Our favorite place we went to is Italy. We did that.
Right.
That was our third trip there.
So I was reading a story.
Trip there, right?
My fourth.
Wow.
Actually, my fifth trip. I went twice before we went together.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
I was reading a story about you guys that talked about. It said Jose was Mexican descent, a French-trained chef who focused in Italian cooking. I was like, whoa! And now he's saying, and Japanese culture evidently is reflecting now.
We ate a lot of Japanese influenced food when we got home.
Yes.
Just down in the kitchen.
Got a couple of books and studied some
Had
stuff.
some stuff sent over.
Yeah.
Jose, what did you major in college?
Philosophy, actually. Originally I went to school for architecture, so that was another part of my young life, and drafting and architecture in high school, and that was the goal, to be an architect.
So when we were golfing together, you started talking about that a little bit, and I couldn't quite understand the bridge of where you became a chef from an architect and a philosopher and so forth. But interesting, the more time I spent with you, the more I realized anything you do, you want to understand it, you want to study it, you want to think it through, you want to actually become part of it.
Right. I mean, that's how I approach food, and I think that's kind of what makes me successful is getting an understanding of what it is, what the culture behind it, where it starts, where it begins, like all that stuff, and seeing it all the way through.
Okay, so let me ask you an abrupt question. What the hell are you guys doing in the Shenandoah Valley? Oh, pardon, I didn't mean to swear. website?
Well, love makes you do some pretty dumb things. And this one, it's this one.
Hey, the Valley's got something special about it, doesn't it?
One of the most incredible places that I've ever been to.
Wow.
Honestly.
I mean, usually when people are talking about Italy and France and Japan, they talk about Shenandoah Valley. I mean, those four go right in a row, don't they?
Actually, one of our guides in Japan, when we said we were from the Shenandoah Valley, he started singing the
John Denver.
The John Denver song.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, Shenandoah Valley. Like, Shenandoah River. So that was funny.
So we have got out there. That Bo Birdie did that just on her own, I'm sure. All right, so you're in the Valley. You are here because of love. You're here because your family, like you felt full circle that you needed to come back? Or?
Kind of. It all kind of started with like not the best circumstances. My mom passed away pretty suddenly and tragically. It's actually 7 years this week. Will be 7 years this week. So Jose and I were home for an extended amount of time for the funeral and everything. And my mom and I had always wanted to buy a market or have a little shop. And the place that we were.
So y'all guys were close.
My mom and I, yeah.
And you both were business minded.
Yes, she was the most shrewd human being I've ever met in my life, in the best possible way.
Right.
Everybody has cookie stories.
Everybody has a cookie story, mainly about how she helped them, but nobody ever knew that she helped them. So there was this place that we really wanted. It was out near White Post. The first time it became available for sale was just kind of outside of our price range. I took Jose there because I wanted him to see what my mom and I had wanted to do. And while we were there, the owner approached us and said, hey, I know this may not be the best time, but we're for sale again. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, is this like my mom talking to me from the beyond? Like, what's happening? So we had my uncle, who was kind of like our financial advisor, run the numbers. And he was like, I just don't think this is for you guys right now, but there's a place that's quietly for sale in Woodstock.
Quietly for sale.
Quietly for sale to the right people, I think were his exact words. So he had put me in touch with the former owners. What I thought was going to be like a 15-minute phone call turned into an hour phone call, turned into emails back and forth. And I tell people that every obstacle that came up resolved itself in about 24 hours. So it was like everything was kind of leading us.
It was like meant to be.
To do this.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not sure big decisions should be made under duress, but I've made big decisions.
Yeah. And are you glad you did it?
Yeah, I am.
It was the right decision.
It was the right decision, I think.
Well, here we are almost 6 years later.
Right?
We're about to start our 7th year in January.
And it's very successful. You have to call in. Like when you come here on a weekend, you're not getting in unless you call it in advance or they have
Unless you're Sarah Cohen and you text me directly.
but it's a very special place. It definitely is. And I can see. So I knew the owners before, and they did a great job. But y'all added upon and made it your own. It definitely has its own vibe and just a nice feel to it. So what do you like about the Valley? What are the things that you enjoy or embrace most about living in the Shenandoah Valley?
I don't know. I guess probably the slower pace. I don't know. I went into the city yesterday for an appointment, and I'm just like, Jesus, can nobody drive here? I mean, it was just chaos in this parking lot.
We talk about moving back to a big city every now and then, but at the end of the day, it's like you can't have what we have here.
Right.
We have a house and a yard, and our dog loves the yard.
And the community.
Well, to tie the restaurant back into the Valley, you guys actually have wines and baked goods and different foods that you use in your menu that are actually grown or come from the Valley, right?
We try as much as we can to incorporate, local farms and products as we can.
That's a beautiful thing. I love that sense of community, which ties me to one last thing I want to talk to you about. So I talked to both of you separately recently, just trying to get to know you, and they both answered one question the same way. Almost the exact same answer. When I was asking them what's the most important thing in their life, and they both said each other. And then they went on to explain what they liked about each other. And they both talked about, in fact, Nikki said that Jose was one of, if not the best chef she'd ever met. And Jose went on to explain to me the incredible business person that Nikki is. But more important than that, they said, was that they felt that the significant other gave back to the community or wanted to help others. And I remember Jose on the golf course, we were talking, and you said that Nikki is always trying to lift people up or help people or give people opportunity. And then when we were sitting over here the other night, Nikki was talking about Jose doing that same thing. And it's funny because Jose had mentioned to me earlier about your stepfather and how he had wanted to do things for you in your life. And I felt like maybe, and you just talked about your mother, that the experiences that you've already had in your life have led you to where you are in the valley, but also to feel a strong sense of community or giving.
I think for each of us, it's really important to give back. We're incredibly fortunate. We have had incredible careers. We've gotten to see the world. We get to eat great food. Like, what more can we ask for, right? So we have this incredible life, and I think it's important for us to help as many people as possible without talking about helping people. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I could tell y'all were embarrassed when I brought it up. But
I understand very highly that I didn't do this by myself. You know, we didn't get to where we are by ourselves. We had help along the way.
Right.
So to be able to help, you know, if whoever comes through, give them the boost they need.
I think we each very clearly remember the mentors in our lives and how they affected each of us. So, like, if we can give that to, you know, one kid in here and they can take that with them, then that's success to us.
Right. I'm very, very impressed by the two of you and how you actually live that. You don't talk that, you actually do it. So in closing, last thing I wanted to just bring up real quick is you just went golfing, had a great time. Now you're going to match up some food on your menu to your golf experience. What are you eating after golf?
Well, I mean,
hot dogs.
I think a burger. You know,
there you go. That's what I was going for. Come on, Nikki.
It's a burger. It's a burger.
Hot dog is like my guilty pleasure.
I got you. And they do match up. I've tried hot dogging golf, and they actually work.
Well, two dogs at the turn, it can't be beat.
Right? But I was reaching for burger because Jose makes the best burger. I'm not very good at eating it, so Nikki brings me like a stack of paper napkins because she knows it's going to be a burger explosion. But
it should be juicy. A good burger should be juicy.
And it is.
Sarah tried it for the first time this weekend, too, and she had the same problem trying to keep it all together. So.
Well, I want to thank y'all so much for the interview today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're both very busy, but thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you from Bo Birdie. Thank you so much for watching.